Too smooth that mud talking to have your ass in a wreck. Signing your check. Pussy better do what he says. We shutting down shows. Ain't gotta put no price in your head. Man, I'm coming for your tongue for all that shit that you said.
Gonna make the heat go boom, 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 boom. What it is, I'm gonna tell you exactly what the fuck it is. And in that fashion. In Menudo style or direct fashion, we're gonna get straight into it. The profile of the day, as you can tell by that thumbnail right there, is about a personal friend of mine, a soldado, a real one, someone who died, rest in peace, in good standings, in righteousness, and a friend like no other, man. This is a childhood friend of mine, and he played an intricate part into the Barrio Dead End out of the west side of Merced, the Deuce Unida, don't get it twisted, Central Valle. You already know how we did it and how we done it and how we continue to do it. I got a lot of love for this individual. So without further ado, let me introduce the man of this profile that I'm going to shed some light and put some shine on and some respect on his name. Sowski, you better put respect on his name. And in that fashion, one big Beto Salas, the Merced, right? Now, in order for me to give you this profile and tell you this story, I have to tell it from the heart. Because this Vato has my heart. This is a good homeboy of mine. We grew up together since we're about 4 years old. And righteously, man, I could say that this man did a lot for me in my life. And I paid it back in full. Or at least to the utmost that I could do. So Beto, a very well-known individual in the city of Merced. You know, from Dead End, from the Barrio. And I'm going to talk about how our lives crossed, paralleled. How we both got involved with the Barrio. How we used to look up to the gente and the real ones. And just a little bit about everything. So I first met Beto when I was living in the Beechwood area in Merced. It's kind of on the outskirts of the town, not necessarily on the west side, but it's kind of its own island of Merced. Anyone that knows about the Beechwood area will tell you the wigglization is real right there. It's got its own established hoods, but at the same time, everybody pretty much gets along. Nowadays, I heard there's a big influence and a big influx of Sureños coming from Atwater, trying to wiggle into Beechwood. And so I know the war and the beef is real. So I wish it was never that way, but the Vatos in Beechwood are different. So Beechwood of Merced, the makeup is one big long street and several offshoot streets. So it's just like one typical barrio, one neighborhood. And, you know, I grew up in that area, having a lot of familia that lived in many of these houses. I kind of knew everybody. You know, I knew everybody, met everybody. We've been there, done that. Our familias were good friends. Our mothers were friends of their mothers who were friends of their mothers. It was a generational thing. This was my first glimpse into gangbanging. This was my first glimpse into seeing everything around me for what it was. And along came a familia that grew up on the west side of Merced. And they came into this neighborhood because it was affordable housing. The housing was cheaper. So everybody was moving into the wood at that time, which we called it the wood. And this familia came and it consisted of a few sisters and a couple brothers, or a few brothers. There was actually 6 kids, in fact. One of them being a lot older. She ended up moving out and getting her own place. And I'm not going to speak too much on their names or who they are. Anyone that's from the city or the town of Merced already knows Beto. And they know who his familia is. They're very well respected. And they're like family to me. Brothers, sisters, cousins, whatever you want to call it. I got a lot of love for them. They got a lot of love for the gun. Bang, bang. We're going to continue in that fashion. Now, I remember what stood out about Beto to me personally was his size, his immense size. At a very young age, I'd say 6, 7, 8, and 9 is when I started to notice a growth spurt. So I was 4 foot whatever, right? I was a little skinny, pimply faced, ugly kid with enough blowguns on my body to scare the best of them off, right? But this Vato was a big boy. He started to grow immensely about the 4th grade. I remember we were the same age, and this Vato went from 6 foot, which was already big as a 4th grader, to about 6'3" in no time, right? So the intimidation factor was there in the hood with everyone growing up in Beechwood. I'm saying motherfuckers was shook. They were like, damn, Beto, you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. His head was growing this way. His body was growing that way. And he wasn't just a tall individual. He wasn't just a giant. Beto was like Andre the Giant, okay? He was growing proportionally, meaning he was a big boy. Okay, I think at his peak, he reached just about almost 7 feet tall and about 300 pounds, little over. He was big, okay, very big. But, so I remember hanging around with him. We took to becoming fast friends. He had a couple older brothers who were living that life. They were already gang related. They were involved in a lot of things. Their wiggle was real. They were out there in the game, making moves, making things happen. And me and him being youngsters, we looked up to them. I remember he had one brother who was out there stealing every single bike that was in sight. And he had another brother who was already in the game and continues to be actively, and he functions, right? So we looked up to these guys. You know, being a little bit younger and wanting to be involved in the Ranger games and wanting to hang around with the Nortenos that were in town and that were hanging around in that area. What else was there to do for us? That's getting Nintendo only got us so far. Stealing little bikes could only do so much. Collecting baseball cards, Charlie Holmes, fuck Don Mattingly. I wasn't feeling that, right? What I was really into and what the homeboy was really into was wanting to become a gang member, wanting to be recognized for the work and the wigglization we were about to put in. So we started to kick it real tough. We started to hang around. We went to the same schools, same classes, everything. You knew that if you seen the skins, for which they called me in the hood Skinner, you would see Big Beto, right? And he just continued to grow. This vato got bigger and bigger and bigger and badder and meaner and colder, right? But I knew him as just a big softy, meaning Beto was just cool as fuck. Hey, the vato had a different type of personality. If you knew him, he accepted you. If it was real, sabes que he'd give you the shirt off his back. So that's a big old shirt too. And if he didn't, it was better not to go around him because sabes que he'll knock you out. First and foremost, and in that fashion. It wasn't about if you had hands or not. His fucking hands were bigger than your head. That's what it was all about. When there's someone that size, he intimidates. I remember placas were intimidated by him. They would see us walking down the street and they knew straight up we were up to no good, but Sasuke, they'd see the size of Beto and they'd keep on pushing. They didn't want that action. They didn't want that smoke. You know, he was just a little too big. So anyways, growing up, we started to pursue the gang. We started to let it be known that we wanted to be involved. And I remember an incident, and I've told this story before on Gunners Collective, my boy Beto, that my first tattoo he did. I actually did his first tattoo and he did my tattoo. We were kicking back one day and one of his sisters, her boyfriend had a tattoo machine. And this was our first time ever seeing a real tattoo gun. It wasn't even real, it was a prison-made one. But hey, we were all into it. And how does that shit work? So let's plug it in. Show us one time. We were just being intuitive because we wanted to see how it works so Sasuke, we can get down. We didn't know about being clean. We didn't know about the tinta. We didn't know about none of that stuff. Okay, we'll take a pin, a big pin, break it, and let's get it. But I remember his sister had the ink. She had the whole get down. And so I remember her showing us, okay, this is how you get down. She practiced, I think, on herself or her boyfriend. I don't know. We were young kids. But I remember putting his last name, Salas, on his arm. So this guy did pretty good, too, if I might say so myself. The wiggle was good. Menudo style. And it came my time to get a tattoo, and he did a little XIV on my arm. I remember. It was right here on my elbow. It's now gone. It's been so old. So you can see a little bit. It says XIV. Alright, to eternity. Anyways, this was the tattoo he did. Well, I remember going to sleep that night. I was spending the night at his house, which is what we used to do, man. I used to go kick it at his pad. My mom was very strict. My family was fucking pretty much like, Charlie, you ain't going to be out there in the streets, but I was out there anyways. So I'd have to fly under the radar in the no-fly zone, Big Lou, and go undercover and go kick it with Beto and spend the night because over there at his pad, the wiggle was a little bit more realer. You were able to do a little bit more what you wanted to do. His jefita, God rest her soul, was like a tia to me. She was good people. She was doing her thing. And the children were pretty much doing their own. She took very well care of her kids, but her kids were able to wiggle just a little bit more than I was in my household. And I liked that shit because the gang banging was getting fucking very real, right? So I started to kick it over there. And I remember that night I fell asleep. And the vato was like, if for no other reason, I'm going to do a tattoo on this baboso while he's sleeping. And I'm snoring like a motherfucker, right? And all of a sudden I jumped like a cat that just got fucking hit by a Mack truck up in the air. And what it was the homeboy took one of his mother's needles. Okay, she had diabetes. She used to use insulin. He took one of her needles and he filled it with tinta and he decided for no other reason he was going to put 4 dots on my hands and he hit me right in my fucking trigger finger with the needle and I jumped as high as the roof was, right? I was up. He hit a motherfucking vein or something. Blood was spurting everywhere. It was a bad situation. I ended up having to go to the hospital and they extracted the ink from my finger. For now I have a green finger. You can see it. It's this little tiny dot that's right there. That's where he fucked me off. I'll never forget him. Beto, got you. So I remember the movie Scarface. This vato was a fanatic for the movie Scarface. Okay, I don't know how or why, but I know that he actually named his first son after Scarface. His name was Tony. He had a tattoo that said "The world is yours." This vato, when it came to Scarface, he knew every fucking part of the movie. He knew how to translate it so it could sound like Tony. Say hello to my little friend. He was all involved. And I remember to this day, That's one thing that makes me smile about him was Scarface. Every time I see the movie, I think about Big Beto. It had an impact on my life. So as we grew up, of course, everybody knows my story. I ended up getting caught in the muerto, right? I ended up catching the murder case, and we get kind of distant. Okay, I'm down for like maybe a year and a half when I run into his older brother, who actually became my best friend over time. So I run into his big brother, and of course I'm inquiring into Big Beto, and I'm asking about him. And he says, Beto's just doing the same old thing. He's into the same old thing. Of course, at this time, we're already involved in the gang Dead End. We're already part of that. We're affiliated. We're with it. The Wiggles, real Norteños, we're handling it. And he's continuing to get bigger and larger and on a grander scale. So when I mean big, I mean this Vato was big. Vato was so big, his hands were so big that if he carried a 40 in his hand, it would look like a regular bottle. Put it like that. So I end up getting out of YA. I go through all that, and me and his brother become very, very cool. And his brother actually, both of his brothers actually pick me up the day after I get out of YA, and I move in with them, and we start to get into the D game and other various activities I can't speak on because allegedly, you know what I mean? Motherfuckers would be mad. And in that fashion. But the gangbang was real. This is the late 90s, 96, 97, 98. And we're really in the mix. And of course, Beto by this time is kind of laid back. He's kind of gotten involved in the dope game, right? This is what he grew up to be. This is what he's doing. And he was doing it on a very large scale. Anyone that was in Merced at that time will tell you that Beto didn't tell too much people his business. So I was scared. He wasn't telling anyone to connect. He was just doing his thing. And I righteously respected that. I started to hang around with Beto less and less. He was always there because I lived basically with this familia. This were the people that took me in and took care of me and showed me the way. So me and his brother became like that, and we started to do our thing. Now, I remember a couple of incidences with Big Beto that I could speak on. Was one, we had a junta in Dead End Park. And for those of you that don't know, my neighborhood in the old school, I don't know how they do it now. So I'm not paying attention to what the youngsters are doing and how they're pursuing it. Hopefully they're doing it in a righteous fashion and they're winning. But back in the days, we used to have juntas at Dead End Park or either at the homeboy Baby's house over there in Dead End at the corner. You already know what it is, right? Soldier Boy and Baby, stand up. You know what I mean? Respects to Carnuto. But we'd be over there chilling. And so we did our thing in I remember this particular day, a couple of the homeboys, and I'm not going to tell you which exact homeboy, but Beto was a big drinker. He loved to drink, right? And it seemed like, I don't know if it was his size or what it was, but this Beto could drink and drink and drink, and it didn't even affect him. He'd catch a slight buzz and go sleep for 3 days. And at this time, he had so much fucking feria. You know, everybody wanted to be around him because they felt just the aura of how much money he had because he was in the game. Like I said, that maybe Sarge, it could rub off on them and he could break them off a little something, something. He was that type of character. You never knew when he would hand you a stat, right? And you never knew when he would rob you for one. You just didn't know, man. Big Beto, like I said, no one could figure him out. But we were such good friends since a young age, man. I knew what kind of mood he was in when he was in it. You know, and you become accustomed to that when it's a true friend and a real one. You start to know the ins and outs of their attitude and their characteristics and the way they carry themselves. So I already knew what time it was. Anyways, we're chilling and he has a case of beer. And he had brought 2 cases, I remember, to the junta, and he gave one to the homies, and one of them was to the neck. So that wasn't going to do nada for this vato. They were like little pea shooters to him, shots. So he's drinking his, and one of the homeboys, I'm not going to speak his name, man, because this could implement him in something, but one of the homeboys actually pops up, and him and Beto had never seen eye to eye. Beto just didn't like his style and his flavor, and he always said, that was a J-Cat, whatever. I think because he went to prison, all of a sudden he's somebody, right? And you got to understand, Beto never went to prison. Okay, that wasn't his thing. He was a street soldado. He handled his business for the barrio and the hood on the streets. He just got lucky. He never got caught up. Eventually, over time, he did end up going to county jail and things of that nature. But actually going to prison and putting in work in there, no, he didn't, and he didn't have to. He was real no matter what. In a real way. Like I said, this profile is not necessarily about people that have been in prison, but real street soldados that have really did it in all different aspects of life. So peep game. We're kicking it. And he's got his case of beer, and the homeboy comes up, the one he doesn't like. He's like, hey, throw me a beer, Beto. And Beto's like, hey, your guys' shit's over there. This is me to the neck. And he's like, come on, bro. Why you always got to act like that? You think everyone's jocking you because you got money, and you're big, and you're this and you're that. Beto told him, shut up before I slap you in your mouth. You know what I mean? Now, this was some serious red on red about to happen. But you got to understand, even before that, this was hood shit, hood business. If homeboys from the hood wanted to get down with each other, so I was, yeah, the wind was blowing. I was going to be right there like, hey. I got Beto, right? Straight up, he was too big, he was going to choke him. So this homeboy was feeling some type of way, so he started me mugging. Beto was like, if you got something on your chest, get it off, bro, before I knock your block off. Straight up, man, I ain't the one to play with. You already know, you better go on and get on with that shit, bro. You see how big I am? And it wasn't the type of individual where, oh, because he was big, everyone was spooked. No. This Vato was a different type of big. He was Shaq big. He was bigger than Shaq, right? He was a big individual. So this Vato, the homeboy, he's still a righteous homeboy to this day. He disrespects Beto by saying, hey, trip out, man. Fuck you and that beer, right? And Beto tells him where he can stick his head up his ass and see if it fits. He tells him to go fuck himself. He starts getting into the Tony Montana character. And he says, hey, you, go fuck yourself, man, right? And this fool decides that for no other reason, he's going to pull out a little 22, a little ticky-tack thing. And he actually shoots the homeboy. Palabra, right? He actually shoots the homeboy, and I swear to you, he shoots, and everyone's shocked, like, oh, he just shot the homie. And I swear to you, just like, hey, I'm telling you right here from Gunners Collective in the real way on some Gunners Profile shit. That Vato did this. He said, hey, trip out. And I was like, oh, fuck. He said, next time you shoot me, homie, use something big. That didn't even affect me. Skins. I said, what's up? He said, give me another beer. Of course, he passed out later on. I had to take him to the fucking hospital. It was just a superficial skin. It rubbed off, I guess. It fucking bounced off his big ass chest that he had, King Kong chest, and it just ricocheted or whatever. He got lucky. In any case, the way he said that will forever be stuck in my mind, because that was real gangster. Man, he got into some real gangster shit right there. He told that Vato to use a bigger caliber, because he didn't even feel that. It was like a mosquito bite. Sasuke, if anything, it made him madder. Eventually, they did meet up, and they ended up becoming cool with each other. And Sasuke's like, hey, remember when I shot you? And he's like, shut up before I shoot you in your face right now with my big old fist. Okay, so another incident that happened I'll never forget was me and the homeboy Beto were kicking it. And it was my birthday. I actually turned 21. And then, you know what I mean? I was still a young man. Orale, Tower of Power. I was all happy. I was 21. I'm kicking it. And we're actually in the Merced Commons, which is right in the heart of our neighborhood, dead end, right on Childs. Anyone that knows, now you know, Mimi Lane, right? So we're right there in the Merced Commons apartments where Beto lived at the time. And he tells me, hey, trip out. We're going to fucking get high, Beto. And I said, no, I don't get down. You know, I don't indulge. He goes, no, I got a couple sheets of acid. From San Francisco, and me and you are going to lock the doors. We're going to kick my mom out. She's going to go kick it with her old man, and they're going to go to the bar, and they're going to go have a good time, and I'm going to pay from a nice motel. They're going to go on a retreat, and we're going to retreat in this motherfucker. And I said, let's do it. And so we ended up taking, and this is fucking real life, I'm not exaggerating, over 20 hits of acid and a bottle of tequila we went and bought at the store, the dead end store, you feel me? And we proceeded to be under the influence of acid for 3 days. It was a cold trip. I remember I was seeing smashed cats everywhere. There was a stuffed animal breakdancing and shit. I said, orderly turbo, right? I was towed back. And there's several homeboys that came to pick up shit. I'm not going to say what they were picking up. Let's just say things were getting moved quite frequently at that time. They came to pick up a little zipper here or there. And they said, damn, you guys are on one, right? And actually we were watching that. We were listening to that song totally insane. Place the lotion in the basket. Going insane, right? And we were going insane in that motherfucker. And I'll never forget it because it was my 21-year birthday. Usually when you turn 21, you want to go to the club, go get your case of beer. Say, yeah, Heina, you're winning, right? No, I spent it with the homeboy Big Beto, and we got higher than a kite on acid at that time. And we were seeing illusions. Vato, real talk, real life, really happened. So over the years, what happens is me and Beto start gravitating apart from each other. I start going to prison. I get involved in the regiment. I get involved in whatever I get involved in. And like I said, I was a little bit more high power in the North this shit than he was. He was a dead end member first, a Norteno second, man. He strived, but at the same time, he wasn't into too much crime besides making a little bit of feria. And believe, this Vato made so much feria. I remember he had a cajon stacked with money, Sasuke, and bricks of food stamps. We were winning. We were eating steaks, a whole lot of them. Porterhouse was my middle name. You know what I mean? I ate steaks a lot with the homeboy. So I ended up going in and out of prison, and I was hearing a lot about Beto. In that time, you know, God rest her soul, he lost his mother, and he was never the same. You know, when you lose a parent, things change in life. You know, this Vato went from being one of the biggest dope dealers in the town, really having it his way, man, burning money. Serio, I watched this Vato light fucking barbecues with $100 bills. My homeboys used to be mad, like, damn, we ain't even got no gas. We're going to be walking, and this Vato's using hundreds to light fires. And it's just real life, true shit. His mother passes, and he was never the same. You know, his father wasn't necessarily in his life for one reason or another. I never knew, and I never asked. And didn't care, man. All I cared about, my homeboys were safe. They were all right. And their familia was good, you know, the ones that I knew. And they were good people, righteous people, but not the ones to be fucked with. None of them. Not his brothers, nor his sisters. They all had wiggle. They were all down. But but he loses his mind, okay? And he starts getting on a bad track. And I'm not going to go too deep into it because I don't want to shit on my homeboy's character. You know, he's a good friend of mine, a real one. If you guys remember my first channel, me wearing that red shirt and it said Big Beto, rest in peace, he had barely passed. So the last time I got to see my homeboy was about 2 years prior to him passing. I actually go to the store on K Street. It's called the K Street Market in Merced. And me and my Theo, was 4th of July. We walk in and we're getting some ice for the ice chest. And I hear someone say, Skinner. Now, there's only a few people that call me that to this day. So I turn around and I see this big old giant in front of me, but he doesn't look like he used to look. In fact, I don't even recognize him. I'm like, what's up, bro? I'm already getting ready. So I got my shit cocked back. I'm about to let the guns go. So he's probably going to choke me to death because he's so big. But I'm going to at least get it, you know, at least pulled up. The pull-up is real. And he's like, it's me, Beto. And I was like, oh, fuck. And you got to understand, we're like family. So it hurt my heart. It broke my heart. So I was like, what happened? Ooh, right? And he was like, oh, you know how it is. And I was like, nah, I don't know how it is. I was like, you hungry? You need some bread? Now you're talking about someone, bro, that gave me a lot of bread throughout my whole life, put clothes on my back, gave me a fucking room to sleep in. When I was sick, homie, I slept in his bed. He went and slept on the couch. We're talking about a real friend, not just a homeboy from the neighborhood, but a real one, as real as it got and as real as it gets, right? And he was like, yeah, bro, you know, I'm hungry. And so I gave him a couple hundo. You know, and I told him, hey, when you see your brothers, tell him I said, what's up? It's all love. And he was like, what are you doing back in town? I said, wiggling. Beto, menudo style. I'm out here. The gun, right? And it was all good. We had a nice, lightweight 20-minute conversation. I showed him love, looked out for him the best I could, gave him a big old hug, man. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I was able to get that. I told him, I love you, boy. Man, you know, get up out these streets, man. You're better than this shit. Motherfucker, where's the cajon full of money when we need it, right? I said, I'm doing bad too, shit. But not that bad, you know? Anyways, over time, I ended up moving back to Modesto, you know, from Newark, where I was in the Bay Area. And then I hear the unfortunate news. The homeboy gets at me from the town and tells me that he was actually hit by a train. Now, there's been some talk about maybe he was pushed or maybe he walked in front of the train himself. That's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, none of that matters. What matters is a true one, man, who got misguided in life by an unfortunate event, fucked his mind off where he was, you know, something happened. Something happened. We'll never know to this day. And it doesn't matter. What carries me on in life and what matters to me the most is that smile. The world is yours. Big Beto, a true soldado in the streets. And believe me, this motherfucker was out there repping the hood hard. He was out there doing it. How he never got caught? He got lucky. He got lucky. He was a very smart individual. Me and him, his brother, and his other brothers, we didn't give a fuck. We was out there knocking fools out in broad daylight. So he would do it smooth with a purpose. That's just the type of character he was. Anyways, I wanted to shine some light and profile Big Beto, them dead end Merced, a real one in real life who really did it. So if you don't know, now you know. Hey, like I said, everybody has a story, and it's up to real motherfuckers to tell it, so that way people know and their name carries on. With that being said, I hope that you move fast with a purpose. I hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about wiggling for your familia, for yourself, and for the people around you that show support. If you like this spiel, hit that thumbs up, man. If you don't, you can hit that thumbs down. Heavy as the head that wears the crown. Please like and subscribe. We're going to continue to do this everyday styling. Woo! Ric Flair shit and profiling. Menudo. I love you, Big Beto.